Breaking now at 11, police descending on Columbia's campus at the university's request. Officers in riot gear entering occupied buildings through windows. The orders and the arrests. We thank you for staying with News 4 throughout the night as we've been following the efforts to disperse the pro-Palestinian protesters who took over a campus building after a nearly 2-week-long standoff.
The university late tonight calling on the NYPD to restore order and end the unrest. And we've been showing you live pictures of the police response over the last 2 hours. Tonight, our team in place in the newsroom and at Morningside Heights following the latest developments in what's been a very tense situation. We'll begin with News 4's Ida Siegel at the scene. Ida.
And David, we are on the corner of 113th Street and Amsterdam Avenue, and we've actually had a fresh bit of chaos happening behind us here with police ordering people to leave this intersection. I can't tell you with certainty exactly what happened, although we are being told to move back by the NYPD. I can tell you that about 5 minutes earlier, 2 large NYPD buses full of arrested protesters left the area. They left met with cheers from the protesters that were standing on this corner. And maybe 30 seconds after the buses left, all of a sudden, a crowd converged in the middle of the intersection. People started running and new arrests started happening. I don't know exactly what sparked the crowd converging and then running and more arrests, but clearly there was some sort of conflict and clash between the protesters and the NYPD. And now at this point, the police officers on scene here are creating new barriers and asking people to move west of Amsterdam Avenue at 113th Street. So this is all developing just now, literally in the last 2 minutes, and we're trying to figure out exactly what's happening here while also following orders by police and keeping ourselves safe. I can tell you that this intersection prior to this moment had actually been relatively calm compared to what had been happening earlier tonight at 116th Street and Amsterdam when they came onto the campus and swept through and made major arrests. We're told by Jonathan Dienst that more than 100 people arrested from the tent city on campus and from Hamilton Hall, which had been occupied since early this morning in overnight hours last night. That area has largely been cleared off, but now you can see, I don't know if you can see behind me here, police officers are instructing people to leave, to get out of the street, and there are tense moments and confrontations between officers and protesters as they begin to do that. And we're seeing traffic now move down 113th Street for the first time all night, which is an indication that they are trying to reopen what is a very large frozen zone at this point. Everything in Morningside Heights from 110th Street north all the way, I believe, to 117th Street has been shut down for many hours, and that includes Amsterdam Avenue and Broadway. Well, those might have just been first responders or security vehicles that are moving through. I don't see any other vehicles that are moving through. Needless to say, this is an extremely fluid situation here as everyone tries to understand what's happening. But we will keep you posted as we observe from a distance exactly what's happening at this intersection. But I'll send it back to you, David and Natalie.
Ida, watching those packed crowds for us tonight. Ida, thank you. Our cameras were rolling as the NYPD made its way through the windows to get into Hamilton Hall. News 4's Checky Beckford was there with us. You watched it all unfold, Checky.
Yeah, and things have dramatically died down compared to how they were earlier, Natalie. Right now, this area has been cleared out for the most part. I'm going to take you, though, over here across the street to the gate, to the front gate that has been infamously blocked by protesters for days now. Tonight, police clearing them out, coming in and clearing them out. I'll take you to video of that from earlier this evening as officers in riot gear, in tactical gear, basically moved what looked like dozens, if not 100 protesters in front of the gate out of the way. And so they were then able to bring in a huge tactical vehicle that they drove directly to in front of Hamilton Hall, and that is where that truck extended a ramp, and officer after officer after officer began climbing up it and in through a window there, breaching Hamilton Hall for the first time since protesters began occupying it last night. Many of those protesters, the mayor and the police commissioner have said are professional agitators who have basically escalated the situation. What was a peaceful protest up until last night, or in the last 24 hours, into one that has become dangerous and a safety concern. And that's why police today making it clear that something was going to be happening tonight, that it was very likely that something would be happening tonight to clear those protesters out with the university's permission. And of course, the university gave the green light, asking the NYPD to come in and clear out those protesters. It was an unbelievable sight watching that truck pass through. It is massive. And also watching that ramp being placed up against the window and those officers climbing through the window one after another, at least 50 of them. It was hard to count all of them with all the noise going around, but at least 50 of them going into that window and then going through the building floor by floor, clearing out those protesters who had barricaded themselves in there since overnight and had damaged parts of the building, according to police, through the pictures that they handed out today, and also clearing out the encampment that has been a controversial issue for weeks now. Want to take you to some of the sound we heard, some of the reactions we heard from students who are here and watching what happened in disbelief. Take a listen.
As much as I want to be loyal to Columbia, I can also say with 100% confidence that a great proportion of the fear and the hysteria and the danger was introduced by the administration escalating claims of a lack of safety. If there is a lack of safety, that's a real concern that they should address with the protesters constructively. And I have a lot of friends who, we discussed the lack of safety, but the real risk, the real security risk, the real danger, the real fear was introduced by bringing police in here. There's no need. The police officers obviously have a certain level of training, but a lot of them definitely step beyond that today.
And that student who didn't want to share his name, so many students say they're afraid of repercussions via the university, says that he has no side in any of this, but that what we heard kind of from the crowd, who no one really wanted to go on camera except for him, saying that they were ashamed of what happened here, that they were disappointed of the university and the police for going in the way that they did. So far, though, we haven't heard of anybody being injured. We're live tonight. Columbia, Checky Beckford, News 4, New York.
All right, Checky, thank you for reporting at the scene. You and Ida. Let's update something that Checky reported. Before the NYPD moved in tonight, the top brass explained what led to this morning's escalation of the protests. And for more on who they say behind it, Chris Jose is standing by live. Chris?
Hey, David, we're here on 113th and Broadway. The scene here is calm right now, but have a look back behind me here. You can see a line of NYPD officers lined up, gathered along this barricade. Several street closures, we should mention. We've been mentioning it all night. 15 blocks closed off right now, all the way from 125th all the way to 110. The scene a little bit further up, again, also calm late this evening. Take a look at this video. Just hours ago, police released video of protesters taking over Hamilton Hall. The mayor and the NYPD say a number of external actors with no relationship with Columbia have hijacked the protests to try to create chaos. Columbia University says tonight's NYPD operation is about responding to the actions of the protesters, not their cause. Police said based on the tactics they are seeing, from the use of barricades to destroying cameras and other intelligence they have gathered, there are outside agitators involved. Mayor Adams urged students to walk away from the situation. Have a listen.
They're not here to promote peace or unity or allow a peaceful displaying of one's voice, but they're here to create discord and divisiveness.
And back live here at 113th and Broadway, again, a line of NYPD officers lined up along here with the barricades along the sidewalk, along this crosswalk as well. 15 blocks closed off right now. The scene calm tonight, but NYPD is still watching the situation closely here. Reporting live in Morningside Heights, Chris Jose, News 4 New York.
Chris, thank you. Chief Investigative Reporter Jonathan Dean's continuing our team coverage now live from the newsroom. John, you were watching this all unfold with us. You have more on what led up to tonight's decision to clear the campus. I understand you also just got in some new video from inside the university buildings.
Yeah, the NYPD a short time ago posting some of the video of their activity as they moved into Hamilton Hall, clearing and making arrests, as well as clearing that tent encampment on the quad. We can play some of that video for you. In all, 100 people arrested, we are told, 40 of them inside Hamilton Hall. And here you see that video of the police going through Hamilton Hall. You'll see the students apparently use, and the protesters use, chairs and couches, overturning soda machines to try to block the path of the police officers. 40 people arrested inside Hamilton Hall, most of them on the first floor. The tent city also cleared on the quad there, although the tents remain, and that will be up to the university to clear those out along with whatever belongings were left behind. We are told there are still some scuffles, as Ida was talking about, outside on campus, and so there have been a few additional arrests. But as of now, the campus is considered secure. Hamilton Hall has been cleared. And so has the tents that were set up. Police have been now, we're told, called to send extra officers to outside the city university up in Upper Manhattan because of some disturbances happening outside the campus there. But again, as for in and around Columbia University, the campus itself, on campus, that main campus is considered secure, and there's some protests and some disruptive activity ongoing on the outskirts, and some additional arrests are taking place. That's the latest. Back to you.
And we're going to update the City College situation in just a moment. But first, we want to bring in former NYPD Chief of Department Terrence Monahan, who's been giving us insight throughout the evening about the police operation at Columbia. Terry, Checky kind of described this because she witnessed it and she's covered a lot. We've seen the NYPD handle countless protests, but we don't often see them set up a ramp and climb through windows, though we know they train for it. So can you walk us through what we witnessed tonight and what likely happened once the officers got inside?
That was a tremendous plan by the NYPD and executed perfectly. Closing down the streets a while before, clearing out all the protesters in front, and then coming up with the plan to bring the Bearcat in, load in first emergency service, followed by SRG into the building to make the arrest. Once they got into that building, emergency service does a floor-by-floor, building-by-building search. Anyone that was found in the building would have been placed under arrest by ESU and then given to the SRG officers to process. It takes a long time to go through every inch of the building. ESU has the equipment to move whatever soda machines, couches, chairs were in the way to make sure that they can get in there and make the arrest. But I tell you, idea of entering on that second floor, I know a lot of planning went. There was probably a lot of discussions about it. But I think it was a fantastic plan, a way to get a lot of resources into that building quickly, because if you overwhelm them with the number of resources, it makes it much easier to make peaceful arrests.
I see, Terry. And again, I know you've covered a lot of protests, or coordinated the response to a lot of protests, but again, we don't see that often. Let me ask you this. The NYPD said it would only go in if asked by Columbia, which did happen. But I want to know behind the scenes, what do you think top brass likely was saying to university leaders once the vandalism happened and the protesters occupied the building?
Well, all you had to do was listen to a lot of what John Schell had said on social media about consequences, that the anti-Semitism that was going on, the vandalism was going on, it shouldn't be accepted. But it was up to the university to make that decision. You know, it makes it a lot easier for the NYPD. They're not making that call to arrest. Since it's private property, it's in the hands of Columbia University to be the complainant, to sign off on all the arrests for the trespassing, the burglary that was taking place. So behind the scenes, I'm sure there's a lot of discussions that, you know, if we don't do this, it's just going to keep growing. But the longer you allow these individuals to have free reign, they take more and more steps. And that's what you saw. It went from an encampment on the grounds to the taking over of the building. If no action was taken, you don't know what would have happened next.
All right, Terry Monahan, former Chief of Department. We're going to learn more in the coming days, but thank you for walking us through it as we continue to go through it at this hour.